Hey everybody, I'm Arnie. Welcome to another edition of Butte Forge. As I mentioned last video, we're going to start to make some flowers. And this is the project that the flowers are going to go into. And got a little cameo right there. And we'll show you kind of what I have to replicate here in a minute. I'll insert a picture. So let's walk around the corner into the blacksmith shop. Okay, so you had a chance to look at that picture. Wanted to get into all the tools that we're going to need. So what I'm going to do for the first video is kind of go over all of this, because I hate to go long videos. No one likes that. We're going to make all the flowers out of copper and brass. And I've got solid copper tubing, an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. We've got sheet metal, okay, the lighter gauge stuff. I've dug out all my scrap, because scrap is good. All these scrap things are good, and rejects from people trying to make stuff. So with copper, you have a lot of annealing to do. So one of the first things you're going to need is to set up some annealing system. This will go in the vise. And this one I can just, back here, I can simply just like submerge that in the quick quench tank real fast. Use a metal can, fill it up with water so you can quench leaves and things of that nature. You're going to want some small pickups of some sort, some large pickups. When it comes to cutting the stuff, we're going to have a couple of options. For like the round bar, the solid stuff, you can cut with some bolt cutters. For the tubing, I just use a cutoff wheel. You can use a copper tubing cutter if you want, if you have one. So that takes care of the cutting. For the sheet, you're just going to rely on some aviation snips. You could use a Beverly shear if you have that. If you have other cool shearing tools, by all means get into it. I've found that I use this 80%, maybe even 90% of the time for everything. And I'm right-handed, so I use the righties. And when I need to go lefty, guess what? If you turn them upside down, they're lefty. Ha! All right, brilliant, right? So that's how you cut. That's what you're going to do the majority of your cutting with. For cleaning, obviously you're going to have wire brush. I like to hit the sheets, while there's still a sheet, with a big gnarly cut brush like this one here. I've got other various hand brushes. You're going to want some stuff like this on a drill motor. That's going to be really handy. Okay. After the brushing and cleaning, you got cutting, you got annealing, cutting, brushing, cleaning. You got flattening. Okay. So I like some mallets for flattening. I like a nice dead blow hammer. Okay. Because as the copper gets hard, sometimes you want a little bit something more than a mallet. This is perfect for flattening the sheet. A couple of sheet metal tools for handling some of the sheet to hold it per se while you smack it over the animal. Those are handy. Some vice grips and some standard clamps that you have are going to be great for holding tooling down and things like that. For hammers, what you're going to have is you're going to be texturing, and it's a lot like the grapevine, or it's a lot like the tree branches. So you're going to whip out with the hammers that you have put texture into, okay? And so what this setup does is I've taken a piece of shaft and I've ground my texture in there to match. So when I forge copper round stock between the two, that's how I get my texture on it. And it just so happens to work beautifully. Other hammers, a small ball peen is going to be very handy. We don't need big hammers for this work. I have a small little what does that say? Something like half ounce Stanley or something, whatever that means. Veining. This is a cross peen welding hammer. Welders know this as their chipping hammer for the most part. Pro level welders use this as the chipping hammer, not that. That's an amateur. That's a pro. So, but what I've done is I've radiused these corners off quite a bit so I can do, I can texture leaves and things of that nature. Okay. I have this one here because it has a use. normally in welding, you never make a sharp point. But in this case, I do need something to make a sharp point for the buds of the flowers or the very centers of the daisies. Another sharp chisel on the back of this, that allows me to get in on some patterns and get in really tight and make some very fine line work patterns, textures. You're gonna, I don't know why I have this. This is my tomahawk chopper hammer, but it's just generally, it's a hammer I made, and I'd like to think it brings me luck. Let's see, you also need to have a general little fab hammer for when you're punching and center punching and laying out, because it's good to use a hammer that you don't traditionally forge with for doing your punching and things like that. It's just better. Okay, so after you've cut all your stuff out and, you know, annealing and all of that, you're going to have a bunch of various pliers that you're going to need for shaping. And so most of these are pliers that I've already bought, and we just get them hot and shape them. So for example, you can see right here how we've done this. You bend that out, and I've ground out all the knurling that they have for traction. Tried to get most of that out of there. This one for sure, that one's really done really small, and you just clean all that up, get it in there to get in there. These are needle nose pliers that what I've done is I've ground them. I've opened them up, and I've rolled them in the belt sander and rolled those edges, get all that knurling off. This is a set of pliers that you can actually buy like this, little dinkers, and these are handy for the rosebuds and the insides of the buds. Miniature little scrolling pliers like this. These are handy. I believe these are like electricians like to have these to start their little loops and stuff, so you might be able to find them for that. These are just a nice flat pair of pickups. It's an old-fashioned pair of tongs. Love them. Okay, so you've got those to work with. And what I wanted to go over here before I show you all my templates lastly is there's a few things. This one I'm going to do a video all on its own when we get there, but this is a veining tool, and this allows me to do a lot of my leaves and other types of cool things like that. That's broke, never mind that. So I'll show you this tool later. What this little deal is, it doesn't look like much, but what this does is this is a welding positioner. Vertically, I could put the flower down upside down with the stem sticking straight up, and I can gas weld. Or I can come here and I can just stick it in the stem like that, the stem this way, and cantilever the flower over, and I can just start welding. It's a gas welding jig. And then lastly, probably here on the tooling, are a couple of things like, for example, a stake jig. This is what you're going to need to start the buds of the flowers. To do the very inside part, it usually starts, the first one starts inside of there, and you start to hammer them down around that. There's bigger stake jigs for other size flowers and things. And like this one, we just put 3 different ones to stage it out, okay? These are going to be handy for welding as well. In fact, they should have gone right over here with this tool, because they're both welding positioners and things of that nature. Back to the arbor press. So this is just an everyday Horror Fright arbor press that you can get from Horror Fright. And I just made up some tools for it. Some of the stuff just kind of self-obvious. When you see it do its work, you're going to understand. But you're going to make up some tooling. This is a punch. Believe it or not, when you're doing copper and brass, that does all the work you need. You just clamp a little stripper there, bam, bam. All kinds of stuff. This will go with this right here. Let's see here. Let's pin this up against the bench if it'll stay. And so this is just a deal here that's going to allow you to shape and cup things like the Shasta daisy leaves. That's how they get cupped. Okay, so these are most of the silly little steel templates and tooling that you're going to need, you know, dies and things that are not exactly like this, but similar, okay? Similar to do the types of the flowers. Of course, you're going to need some scribes. You're going to need Sharpies. I recommend get a nice new clean Sharpie. And so now we got the templates. So this is the hard part. And so these are the irises right here. This is the template for the iris, okay? And it's not too difficult. You can see how I start. I drew my circle. I laid it out with 3 lines. Same thing here. You just lay them out and draw them out, cut them out. I've made these irises only one time. I don't have a metal template yet. So that's that. You make 2 of each, and 2 come up, 2 go down, done deal. These are my daisies. That's all it is. And that's how you make a daisy. Pretty straightforward. Again, you lay them all out. Here, let's show you what the finish is here. So there's a daisy, and that's the pattern for the daisy. Okay. The roses. A lot of folks have seen roses. Here's a rose. Let's get a rose in on the table. So here's our roses. And for the pattern for the roses, there's generally 3, okay? And how it starts is you've got 3 that graduate in size, like this, okay? And then what you need for the bottom of the rose, as you can see right there, you see the back of the rose, see that star? So on the back of the rose, you have a star. I had an extra. I just keep the star as a template, as for how I do the texture. If you can see the little fine lines on there, and that's where that little sharp cross peen comes into place. And then the veining, that's where the veining tool comes into place, and we'll show you how all that goes. Okay, so there's that. Let's see. These are the calla lilies. This is big and small right here. And that's a calla lily pattern. It's basically a spade. And how you draw it is you draw one side just a little bit more elliptical than the other. And all I do is hand draw these, you know. Let's get a calla lily on here. So let's get one there. See, there's a calla lily right there. Let's get a calla lily. So there's our calla lilies right here. And that's how we make those. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Let's see what else. This is a unique flower that has little pistils or a stamen. I don't know. I'm not a flower expert. So this is the flower for that one. And this is the template. And as you can see, it's got little pistils that stick up out of that. So we're going to probably make some of those too. These ones are hard. I'm not going to lie. These are hard to make. You have to be a pretty good gas welder. All right. And that is pretty, one last little part here. So here's some templates for leaves. Okay. And this one, as you might wonder, this, because I play things with strings, this is a guitar pick. Well, gee, look at that. There's your pattern. So there's your guitar pick, okay? What else I do the guitar pick for is, those are leaves. So they make beautiful little leaves. So a guitar pick makes a great little pattern. You may steal that. Anyways, so here is most of the nonsense you're gonna need to get into making flowers. There's quite a bunch of stuff. So I've already gone pretty long, but it's what it took just so that you know what you need to make the flowers. So this is part 1. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you to all the new subscribers. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And happy forging. And see you soon here at Butte Forge. Have a great afternoon.